call the meeting to order. This is the City Commission meeting, Monday, February 12th, 2024. The time is 5:30. Would you please rise for the invocation and the pledge? Heavenly Father, we ask that you watch over this group tonight, that you help us make good decisions for the city of Leesburg. We do this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started with the proclamations, I would like to mention that item 6C2, that's at the very back of the packet in the non-routine items, has been pulled from the agenda tonight. If there's anyone here that's waiting to hear about that, we will not be discussing it. So that's item 6C2. All righty. So at this point, we have a proclamation. Whereas the Purple Heart, the oldest military decoration in use today, evolved from the Badge of Military Merit, which was created by General George Washington for the common soldier in 1782, and whereas the Purple Heart is awarded to members of the United States Armed Forces that have been wounded or killed in combat with a declared enemy of the United States of America, and whereas the mission of the Military Order of the Purple Heart is to foster an environment of goodwill and camaraderie among combat wounded veterans, promote patriotism, support legislative initiatives, and most importantly, provide services to veterans and their families. And whereas the City of Leesburg, along with the Military Order of the Purple Heart USA, Inc., Harry R. Alexander Memorial Chapter 532-FL-4 recognizes the sacrifices of our Purple Heart recipients have made in defending our freedoms and believe it is important to acknowledge their courage and show them the support they have earned. And whereas the Purple Heart Trail is a symbolic and honorary system of roads, highways, bridges, and monuments and other entities that give tribute to the men and women who have been awarded the Purple Heart Medal. And whereas U.S. Highway 27, which runs through the heart of the city of Leesburg, has been designated as part of the national road system that makes up the Purple Heart Trail. And whereas the city of Leesburg has a large veteran population, including many Purple Heart recipients, and has a tradition for supporting our military, and it is fitting for Leesburg to become part of the Purple Heart Trail system as a Purple Heart city. Now, therefore, I, James A. Burry, Jr., the mayor of the city of Leesburg, Florida, do hereby proclaim Leesburg as a Purple Heart city in honor of all combat wounded veterans, affirm our support for the mission of the Military Order of the Purple Heart, and encourage all citizens to remember and honor the brave men and women who defended this great nation.
Get a picture. Okay. Thank you for that. I'm Reginald Neely. I am to be the commander of the local chapter of the Military of the Purple Heart. And it is our privilege to do this. Okay. And just a word of thanks. I accept your proclamation to become a Purple Heart City. I'm honored to stand here and receive this document from you. We are very humbled by your support in our organization and the work that we are doing for this community. I'm very grateful for the wording of the proclamation that acknowledges the sacrifices made by the combat wounded veterans here in the city of Leesburg. I feel personally honored to be a part of the ceremony. We will take a few steps necessary to place your city on the National Register as a Purple Heart City. In addition to that, sir, I would like to make sure that we give each member of your council here a Purple Heart supporter pin. And it's just, and I'll do that in a second. And we also have a flag. We have a small flag, which is a Purple Heart flag. And I'm going to open it down. You do that real quickly, and if I don't mind, I'm just going to. Just to be able to say that you were indeed supportive of the military of the Purple Heart. And we appreciate it.
We're going to hold this flag up so we can fix it. Great time talking with you on the phone, and I appreciate everything that you've done for us. Thank you very much. This flag belongs to you. Oops.
Thanks, John. Yes.
Thank you for your service.
Okay. At this point, we're going to have a presentation on Lee School. Could we get an update on that, please?
Yeah, I'll start you out here. Barry Mansfield, if you would come on up. We've been talking about the Lee School for some time now. This project's gone through a couple iterations. A number of things have occurred with it that's made it challenging. First of all is the old historic buildings, which are in disrepair. And the Historic Board did give a conditional demolition order for those buildings tied to development. But, for various different reasons, development hasn't occurred. We started with COVID, then we kind of had some inflationary issues, and Mr. Mansfield has been chomping at the bit. And then as we got into the iterations of some redesigns, the commission didn't approve the PUD because of parking concerns. So Mr. Mansfield's kind of gone back to the blackboard a little bit. And so in an effort just to kind of tee up a potential modification to the PUD and some different concepts, I thought it would be a good idea for Mr. Mansfield to come visit the commission, kind of give you a quick presentation on where he'd like to go. This is a non-binding type of informational thing, but I thought it was important to kind of kick off the concept again because it's a bit of a shift, the proposal. Instead of townhomes, we're talking apartments. But from a staff level, we see the trade-off being that even though maybe there'd be more density, the difference is that now you don't have a parking issue. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Barry. He's got a quick presentation with some slides to kind of show you some concepts, just to solicit your initial feedback. So, Mr. Mansfield.
Well, thanks for having me. Again, my name is Barry Mansfield. I actually sit City Council in Ocala, so I'm 1320 Southeast 5th Street, Ocala, Florida. I know that's standard. And one of the things we did is obviously we've been struggling with Lee Street for a while on trying to figure out what we could do. And when we went back, when we first had it to where we had a number of units in there as far as townhouses. And then when we were told, well, we can only build so many, that sort of didn't make some of the numbers work. So in the meantime, with everything happening, we actually got through building a project in downtown Ocala. So I invited Al up and I said, hey, why don't you take a look at this project and see if you like it, basically. And if anybody wants to see this is not necessarily a concept I came up with. This is something we just literally got through building. It fits down Ocala. I know, again, Ocala, we were struggling for housing, and the only way to go housing right now is go up. So we came up with a project downtown Ocala, and this is actually right on 3rd Street. And if you'll go through the pictures, this is actually what it would look like. This is how it sits right now on downtown, on the property I have in Ocala. But can you go to the next, some of the pictures? Well, this is, okay, you can keep on going. This is actually what it looks like as far as the elevations. What I wanted to get through is I think most people want to see this. So we just finished the project. We have the first building CO'd. The second building is ready for CO. We just got a few more things to do in it. And if you can go, maybe there's some other picture. I did an aerial. That's some of the inside pictures. Is there any way to do the video?
I didn't get the video.
I did. I sent it.
I didn't put the video in there, Barry.
I apologize. Well, anyhow, so if anybody, what I could do is I could send it to Al, and I could, that way you see the video, and it actually we actually did a drone video of the project. But the most important thing is you see the project. Believe it or not, that square is the same square we have in Lee Street. That is actually downtown Ocala, about 2 blocks off of downtown Ocala. So what we thought about it was, hey, this is a project that would fit here. We got through building it, and you can actually walk out and go to downtown Ocala. Again, you would walk out and go downtown Leesburg. So it's sort of the same product. It's an upscale apartment complex that has a few 3 bedrooms, has some 2 bedrooms, but it's mainly 1s and 2s. It doesn't really. And one of the things we got in Ocala is one of the things we actually targeted more of the professional, not necessarily, even though I'm sure there will be some kids there, but because we were right downtown near all the hospitals, again, everything sort of mimics this. Same thing here. We're right downtown, right near the hospitals. So I think our target market is going to be the professionals, the nurses, the doctors, and the traveling nurses. And again, it would also fill up for any of the professionals who live downtown. And the more urban you get, and again, y'all are struggling with this, I'm sure, in your city. We did the city of Ocala. We see a lot of urban and people actually wanting to come back downtown, actually live downtown. And so we need to obviously have a place, not necessarily a bunch of houses, but we needed a place because we didn't have the space for them to live. And that's how we came up with the concept. So it's worked out well. And I think the market is it's going to be the professional, young professional, and then the people who actually want to come back down and live downtown Leesburg, who actually want to get out of their house and walk down the street, 2 blocks away and go up and down. I think that's what we were striving, and we actually saw the potential, instead of just the condos. Now, again, we can still talk about the condos, but we thought this might be a better product. And again, now I actually have something to show somebody. So if you ever want to do a tour, I'll be glad to bring you to the product so you can see the product. You actually touch and feel and say, and it fits. It's the same block, so it fits. It looks nice. It fits well in the neighborhood. Actually, if you look, there's neighborhoods beyond it. You can't tell that it's really there when you're driving up until you get right up on it. So it just fits nicely in that space. And that's one of the things we wanted to come in front of you all and, say, hey, here's another idea. And this idea would work. So.
How many units?
It's 104. So.
And how many parking spots?
There's 1.5 per. So I think you would estimate.
150.
Yeah. So. So again, I'll open up for questions. I know people will have questions, but I wanted to at least bring it to you. And
Anybody
say,
from
hey,
the commission have questions for him?
Well, first of all, I appreciate your patience with us. I know we've pushed back a couple times on different developments over parking. If staff, Dan Miller, tells me they're okay with the parking ratio, I really like this project a lot. To get the parking, I have no problem going up. We're going to approve a project tonight out on 44. It includes apartments up to 4 stories and with a max of 52 feet. I don't care if this one goes a few feet higher, but no, I like the project, Barry. I like it a lot.
Well, thank you.
And we need something to happen with this site. And also, I will add that I would support an amendment if we have to go back to whether this gets approved or not. We need to go back to the historical board and just get these buildings knocked down, in some form or fashion. It's time to move on with this and get this site, which is blight, fully developed.
We have that.
I thought we had it conditioned on development. I mean, I would even amend it to, if Barry can't work this out, that we let him clear it and do whatever. But I think we're going to work it out with Barry.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
I was in Ocala about a week ago and drove by the property.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it's
What'd
really
you
nice.
think?
I think it's really nice.
Doesn't it fit well in
It
it?
fits well, and you don't notice it until you're right up on it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
So will the Leesburg unit area have the same amount of units as you placed up there in Ocala?
I'm copying it. So yes, yes, ma'am. It's basically, I'm just taking everything from the parking, the pool, the clubhouse, and I'm just moving it from there to here because it's the same square. So there's no difference in size. Yes, ma'am.
You would take in consideration the stormwater issue as well as the monument that was requested from the city residents?
Yes,
of
ma'am.
the
I think if you
Lee
notice,
Delta?
we actually, if you drove by, we actually have a monument on on that one. You just can't see it. If you had the video, and I can make sure I send it to everybody, you would see all the way around. And there's a monument right in front that would, we'd be glad to put it there as Lee School monument, whatever. So, and that's actually, we have a monument on this one.
Okay.
So it's just you can't see it. So.
Sure.
Sir, you say there's 1.5 parking units per unit,
Yes, sir.
so does the husband or the wife get to park there?
I don't know.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean for that to be humorous, but most people are, the husband and wife, they need two parking places, and that's always going to be an issue with me, and I would certainly think it could be an issue with your tenant.
When we did when the engineers did all the calculations, that's what they came up with, and that's what they said. I don't know how they come up with those rates. I mean, I do, but they assume that some are not going to have two vehicles, some are going to have one vehicle, so, but they came up with that was enough for, that particular parking. If it needs more, then we can take a look at it, but I don't think it needs two because there's still some one bedrooms that, may or might not be two people in the household.
You might want to throw a birthday party for your son or your daughter, and no place to do that. That's all the questions I have for now.
Do you have a ratio on 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms? And I'm not trying to hold you to a number. I just didn't know if you had a rough number of the breakdown, like
Actually,
even
it's on the
percentages.
plans. I think it's only there's 4, if I'm not mistaken. They're in the corners is what they did, and then, but mainly it's 1 and 2s. But I can get that for you actually as a.
Yeah, I was
as a
just
breakdown.
curious. I was just piggybacking off his
I can
parking
get that for
comment.
you.
Dan, do you have any questions for him? Okay. Yes, sir.
Did you say that this is 4 stories?
It is.
Has the fire chief been involved to make sure that there's proper ladder truck, bucket truck to handle this situation should it arise, as well as the fire hydrants and piping in and around the building so that there's sufficient water for the
Just so, hey, let me answer that
Yes.
for you, Barry. Just so everybody knows, we're just vetting this concept. There's a ton of things that would need to go on. So essentially, there's a planned unit development approval that's already in place, and Mr. Mansfield is seeking to modify that. So all the questions about parking, green space, the fire department, all that will get involved upon Mr. Mansfield's submittal of a modification to the existing PUD. I thought it was important that we just vet the concept, but all those questions that you are asking will come up through the review process. It'll have 3 steps in the review process. Again, it'll have to go back to the historic board, have to come to the planning and zoning board, and then it'll come back to the city commission. So we wanted initial feedback to see kind of where everybody was. I think I'll talk with Mr. Mansfield sidebar, but we'll probably he'll make a determination here, and if he decides to move forward with the revised concept, it'll be a application to Dan Miller's office, which is planning and zoning, and then we'll move that forward. Yeah. So publicly, more than one bite at the apple for public comment and critiques, criticism, compliments, so on and so forth.
I would like to, I actually can answer that one, though. So, yes, it's been in front of the, like I said, the building's built, and we met with the fire marshal before we even started the building, and he's looked at everything. It's a fully sprinkled building, and, the fire, at least in Ocala, the fire marshal was fine with everything, and he went through.
Hydrant system, too?
Yes, so.
Yeah. And just for part of the record for me, I'm all in favor of having the opportunity for more people to live in the vicinity of our downtown, because I think that ultimately is what is going to make or break your downtown is pedestrian traffic. So this is an excellent opportunity for us to take an advantage of that.
Thank you.
Any more comments? Thank you, Barry.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity. We'll see each other again. Thank you.
We'll move on to item 4. This is public comments. This section is reserved for members of the public to bring up matters of concern or opportunities for praise. Issues brought up will not be discussed in detail in this meeting. Issues will either be referred to the proper staff or will be scheduled for consideration at a future City Commission meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, and would you please give your name and address when you come to the microphone? Are there any public comments?
Have to be sworn in?
No.
You're okay for public comment.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
My name's Christina Foster,
And my name is Sheila Snow.
and we're representing the Woodland Park community. And we have a bathroom at our park that seems like the homeless people have taken it over. Miss Sheila has pictures of the bathroom, and we as a community wanted to know if you could lock it at a certain time, like y'all do Berry Park and all the other parks, so that we can preserve that our bathroom. I found drugs, syringes, all of that in our park. We have children that play up there all the time. They don't need to find stuff like that. So we have a petition from every.
Is that a
We'll
city
get-
park? Is that
yes,
city?
yes.
City
All
maintenance?
the-
Can I get Al?
We'll get Public Works out there.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank y'all so much.
Okay, I was told this is where I should speak. Elizabeth Crouch Payne, 308 Westwood Drive, Leesburg. What I want to address and make a statement is about item 6A, 2, 3, and 4. And I just want to make a public statement.
Yeah, so you will have that opportunity when we bring up those
Okay.
items today.
Hi, my name is Mario Napa. My address is 27548 Stony Brook Drive in Leesburg. On April 12, 2022, Commissioner Peterson, who was then the mayor, asserted on Lakefront TV that in Florida, we prioritize building communities before roads. While that may be true for the city of Leesburg, it does not accurately reflect the situation in South Lake County. In Leesburg, the city commission is using that, appearing to use that as rationale to justify unrestricted growth in the city of Leesburg. A notable opposing philosophy is what is occurring with the burgeoning growth in southern Lake County, rivaling or possibly surpassing that of Leesburg. In a YouTube video from November 2023, Lake Commissioner Sean Parks expressed concerns about traffic and road construction. He emphasized the importance of establishing a comprehensive road network before experiencing growth. Parks can be quoted as saying, and these are his words, "What we wanted to make sure of is that we would have the road network in place and have all of that contemplated and bought out before the growth occurs." What a novel idea. The video titled "Exciting Road Updates in Claremont and Minneota" is available for viewing on YouTube. This discrepancy highlights a divergence in approaches between Leesburg and the rest of Lake County. You're on the verge of approving a new development tonight on Route 44 while only just sending the plans to the state. That's not trying to have a productive dialogue, that's passing the buck. South Lake County, in contrast, is witnessing significant road projects and the creation of new east-west connectors, and I can go on and list about 5 or 6 of them, but I won't. Leesburg, however, relies on Route 44 and Route 48 as east-west connectors, both of which are insufficient for the current population and improved developments. The City Commission appears to be neglecting its duty to collaborate with the MPO and other county and state agencies to ensure the timely improvement of roads, safeguarding existing residents from adverse impacts on our quality of life. The City of Leesburg does not have a representative for the MPO Community Advisory Committee, which is a shock. This shows the lack of commitment this city has to improving its roads. While acknowledging the inevitability of growth, it is imperative that it be managed rather than unrestrained, has been the trend in recent years in Leesburg. Current commissioners may need to be reconsidered in favor of individuals who prioritize the concerns of existing residents over merely approving every new project presented to them. Commissioner Peterson said already that they're going to approve the project tonight, not say that they're going to vote on it tonight. It's a predetermined situation. It is crucial for the city commissioners to fulfill its responsibilities and truly represent the well-being of Leesburg's existing residents. How many homes have already been approved in the city of Leesburg? Somewhere around 30,000. Dan Miller said at a planning board meeting last year that with the homes that we already have approved, there are not enough jobs in the city of Leesburg, and people will have to commute to Orlando or Ocala for work. I don't know if you remember that, Dan. It's on YouTube. You can watch it. Enough is enough, and this craziness has to stop tonight. Let me give you one more example.
Sir, your 3 minutes is
okay.
Well past time. I would like to ask you a question.
Sure.
Do you attend the MPO meetings?
Yes, I do. I've attended
Well,
them
I do too. And when you say that nobody from the city attends them, that's insulting.
There's no representative.
The mayor is your
We're not listed.
representative.
I asked Michael Woods, I said, who's the representative from Leesburg? He said there is none. I'm just telling you what he told me.
Well, it's inaccurate information that you're giving to the rest of the people.
Well, then why isn't Route 48 being improved from 27 to 33?
I would encourage you to go to the county, since they said they would widen the roads ahead of time, and encourage them to do that. It's their responsibility.
You have to have dialogue with the county. Things just don't happen automatically.
Okay, sir.
Do your job.
Good evening, Leesburg Mayor, City Council, citizens. I'm lay brother Stephen Gerard Sadlowski, traveling from Ohio. I'm presently on vacation time in Florida. Eventually, we'll be heading westward. I'm delighted to be back in Leesburg. For those of you who don't know, I have participated in your wonderful Christmas parade in the past. I'm here predominantly to continue to amplify future personhood cities. This is the new direction that any city with a charter, beloved Mayor, can move in the new direction. We now have the language that can be inserted as a covenant preamble right into your city charter. Of course, all the citizens have the right to learn what that covenant language is. And if anybody wants to email me, my email is brotherstephengerard@gmail.com, and I'll send you the Personhood Strategic Action Plan. I also have a resolution which would show that the mayor and commissioners actually are enthusiastic about this new possibility. And that I have to modify it. This is what's been delivered to another city in Florida, but I think there's a lot of love that's been going in this language, and I've delivered it to various cities throughout the United States to let you know. Personhood cities are the new direction because of the Dobbs era that the U.S. Supreme Court has brought before us. And I would be delighted, beloved Mayor Jimmy, to meet with your attorney, Grant Watson, so we could have a sit-down talk, even with yourself or whoever else would like me to do that. I have had these discussions in other cities. I consider myself the growing expert on the new direction of personhood cities. Originally, I started Life Peace Zones after completing my MBA at Xavier University in Cincinnati. I was part of Students for Life at that time, and the Life Peace Zone concept sprouted in Cincinnati, the Queen Queen City. If you were to Google considering life peace zones, that's one of the first articles. But I've kind of amplified and upped my game to personhood cities because that's really the new direction that we can do. I'd also like to point out that I've noticed, being a former commissioned officer, when I see a safety problem, I found a safety problem right here in Leesburg. It's across the street from Publix. There's a bolt sticking out the sidewalk, and I'm concerned about that somebody with a bare foot might walk on that and do some damage to themselves. I'd be happy to meet with your city manager or somebody to point that out. That needs to be cut off immediately. So the joy of the Spirit of God is love for creation. Contact me. I'd love to meet with each of you individually too. God bless you all. Thank you.
Do we have any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Item 5, routine items are placed on the consent agenda to expedite the meeting. If the commission or staff wish to discuss any item, the procedure is as follows. 1, pull the item or items from the consent agenda. 2, vote on remaining items with 1 roll call vote. 3, discuss each pulled item and vote by roll call. Are there any items which the commission would like to pull?
5C7.
5C. 5C7.
Not 5C7.
Yeah, you got to find that. That actually is in the. Which one did you want to put?
It was that one.
It's 5C7.
5C7.
Somehow didn't pop up. It's on there.
But it's not on my.
Because of your.
Gotcha. Okay. So we have pulled 5C7?
Yes,
That's
sir.
fine.
Yep.
Any other items?
Make a motion to approve all remaining items.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Reisman?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Mayor Bury?
Yes. Someone please introduce 5C7.
I'll introduce 5C7 to be read by title only.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a gas service agreement between the City of Leesburg and Cedar Landings LP regarding the provision of natural gas service to the development known as Blue Cedar Phase 1 and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, just real quick. I asked Commissioner Reisman to pull this item. There's a blank in the agreement which we got in late, so I just wanted to clarify the blank. It's in paragraph 4. It's the dollar value. This is our boilerplate developers agreement for our gas system stuff. So you're familiar with this type of agreement. We just got it in late, and we're trying to help with the process. So that blank in paragraph 4, again, is the dollar value that the developer has to spend to build the infrastructure required pursuant to our PUD. And so that number's $529,873.61. So the blank in your agreement will have that value. And then information, so when you approve it, that's the number that's going in there.
Yeah, and just to tie onto that, I've received the original agreement with all that information filled in as well, so we should be good to go with that.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Commissioner Reisman?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Mayor Bury?
Yes. We'll move on to item 6, the public hearings and non-routine items. At this point, we've got a couple of second readings tonight, so we're going to have Grant swear in anyone who wants to give testimony tonight.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Anybody here who's present to give any testimony on items on the agenda 6A or 6B, first reading or second reading, if you would please stand up and raise your right hand so we can swear you in. All right. Do you swear or affirm that all testimony you'll give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. All right. Thank you all.
All right. So would someone please introduce item 6A1?
I'll introduce 6A1 to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, adding a PDO, Planned Development Overlay, with a waiver from Section 25-282, parentheses A, parentheses 1, PDO 5-acre minimum to the existing C1 neighborhood commercial zoning on approximately 0.34 plus minus acres to allow for a triplex use on a property generally located north of West Main Street and west of Harold Street, lying in Section 28, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay. Dan, you want to get up and give us a little overview on this, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Dan Miller, Planning and Zoning. This is a request for a plan development overlay to allow construction of a triplex on West Main Street. Excuse me. As a reminder, a plan development overlay is similar to a PUD. It just leaves the underlying zoning there and adds the uses. This is generally located on the north side of West Main, west of Harold Street. The property is approximately 14,600 square feet, about a third of an acre. The current zoning is C1 neighborhood commercial. Future land use is general commercial. Under the city's land development codes, in order to have residential in a commercial zoning, you would need to request some type of planned zoning district. We do that with either planned unit developments, which changes the entire zoning, or a planned development overlay, which again just lays over the existing zoning. In this case, if you look at the map there, you'll see some triplexes and duplexes and single family and commercial in the area. So staff feels this is an appropriate use. Currently, the property contains one single family residence. And you've got the commercial nearby. There's no flood zone or wetlands on this. The current single family would be torn down and the duplex would be constructed. There is enough room to support the duplex, create the parking, and any retention needed. The property owner is Mr. Tony Huang. I don't know if Mr. Huang is here tonight or not, but that's the story.
Questions from the commission for Dan? Any?
I think you commented duplex, but I'm pretty sure you meant triplex.
I meant triplex if I said
Okay.
duplex. Thank you, sir.
No questions for Dan? Okay. Do we have any public comment on this issue? Any other commission comment? Roll call.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Brownell?
Yes.
Commissioner Reisman?
Yes.
Mayor Burry?
Yes. Okay, would someone please introduce 6A, 2, 3, and 4?
I'll introduce 6A, 2, 3, and 4 to be read by title only.
6A2, an ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, annexing certain real property consisting of approximately 316 plus minus acres, being generally located south of State Road 44 and west of Whitney Road, lying in sections 19 and 30, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, providing that said property so annexed shall be liable for its proportionate share of the existing and future indebtedness of said city, providing that such annexed property shall be subject to all laws and ordinances of said city, as if all such territory had been a part of the City of Leesburg at the time of passage and approval of said laws and ordinances, providing that such annexed territory shall be placed in City Commission District 2 and providing an effective date. 6A3, an ordinance amending the future land use map of the comprehensive plan of the City of Leesburg, changing the future land use map designation of certain property containing 316 plus minus acres from Lake County Rural and Regional Office to City of Leesburg Neighborhood Mixed Use for a property generally located south of State Road 44 and west of Whitney Road, lying in sections 19 and 30, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date. 6A4, an ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the zoning on approximately 316 plus minus acres from Lake County A Agriculture and MP Planned Industrial to City of Leesburg PUD Planned Unit Development to allow mixed-use development, including single-family, duplex, multifamily, and townhouse residential units, commercial, medical/professional office, and a hotel, for a property generally located south of State Road 44 and west of Whitney Road, lying in Section 19 and 30, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Ann. Dan, please walk us through this a little bit.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a request for a project known as Village Palms. It is a request for an annexation, large-scale comp plan, and rezoning. It consists of approximately 316 acres. It's generally located on the south side of County Road 44 and west of Whitney Road, just east of the Sumter County line. Again, 316 acres undeveloped. The large-scale comp plan amendment would go from Lake County Rural and Regional Office to City of Leesburg Neighborhood Mixed Use, which allows a density of up to 4 units an acre, plus some commercial uses. The zoning would go from Lake County Agricultural and MP Planned Industrial to City of Leesburg Planned Unit Development. Specifically, this request is looking for 562 detached single-family lots, 264 townhouse units, 134 duplex units, 300 multifamily, 130 square feet of commercial uses, 42,000 of medical professional offices, 120-room hotel. Also, there's some room provided in there for a possible charter school. So you end up with a total of 1,260 residential units. Under the conditions of the PUD zoning, the residential area is going to allow for single-family residential, attached single-family, which we're talking about townhomes, the villas, which are duplexes, and then the multifamily, which are the apartments. Under the commercial area, the permitted uses would include medical offices, pharmacies, general retail uses, personal services, that's your haircut, nails, those types of things, the hotel, house of worship, and professional offices. The permitted uses are pretty much the standard that we use in our PUDs. In this case, no industrial uses, no auto sales, no tattoo parlors, check cashing, adult uses, internet cafes, pawn shops. The development will have 50, 60, and 70-foot wide lots, so it's a mix. Maximum of 315 50-foot lots, a minimum of 161 60-foot lots, and a minimum of 86 70-foot wide lots. So you get a different lot size, so you get a mix of price points within there. All the lots will require 25-foot front setbacks. Excuse me, I believe that's 20 to the house and 25 to the garage. Gutter requirements will be on all lots that have less than a 7.5-foot setback on the side. We have dark sky lighting, 2 trees in each yard, architectural standards, and 2-car garages for the single families. Under the attached, i.e. the townhouses, we have 264, and those are 22 feet wide lots, and a townhouse takes up the entire lot width-wise. Again, the same setbacks, 1,500-foot minimum square feet on the living area, and 2-car garages on that. On the duplexes, you would have 134 units, 4,200 square foot lot. That makes each duplex, I believe, on a 70-foot lot, 35 and 35 put together. And then 1,200 square feet per unit, which is 2,400 feet for the building. Again, 2 units. And then on the multifamily, I believe it was 306 was the correct number we wanted in there. There are minimums on the size. A studio unit could be 700 square feet. A 1-bedroom would be 8, 2-bedroom would be 900, and 3-bedroom would be 1,000. On the commercial side, again, 130,000 square feet. 42,000 of that is intended to be medical and professional office. And again, we have the 120-room hotel, potential for a charter school, a number of different uses. All the development in this PUD has architectural standards required either in the PUD or via the City of Leesburg's land development codes. A unique feature here is the site access. And there will be 3 primary access points along State Road 44. These are all boulevard-type roadways, so they would have a landscape island in the center. They all flow south through the residential portions where they meet an east-west roadway. Where they meet that east-west roadway, there's a roundabout at each one of those. So that's shown on here, and Mr. Rankin can talk about that as well. But they'll all have roundabouts so you don't come to a complete stop. You keep going through smoothly. There are at least 6 acres of recreational development in this with 3 primary recreational areas. Those recreational areas will include swimming pools, fenced playgrounds for children, separate dog park areas, and a trail system. All of this is shown on the conceptual site plan. All the other, generally speaking, the other requirements of the PUD are the standard PUD language, and I believe I went over, I don't know if I did, Mr. Mayor, the standard dark skies, additional guest parking. This one does have additional guest parking. Ted's gone, sorry. In the residential areas. It's got the 35% open space, 25-foot buffers surrounding the property, and then there's some fencing options on the south and eastern boundaries. So with that, Mr. Mayor, we have an annexation, large-scale comp plan, and a rezoning, and Mr. Mike Rankin from Land Planning Group, I believe, is here to talk about it if you have any further questions.
Thank you, Dan. Any questions for Dan real quick? Anybody? Anything?
May not be a fair question, but the parking ratio on the apartments, and I am drawing a connection to the one we just talked about downtown, which
Right.
was 1.5. Do you know what this one is by chance?
Not off the top of my head. The parking ratios, generally, if you have a 1-bedroom, you're required to have 1. A 2 is usually 1.5, and a 3-bedroom is 2.0.
Okay.
So I can check that against the code.
That's fine.
That's
I
what
didn't mean
memory
that.
tells
That kind of went sideways on you. Thank you.
That's fine.
I do have one thing for you, Dan. Sorry. You said there will be 3 exits on the 44 for this?
Yes, sir.
Now, does that include what we have already approved for the different, the crossings is going to have, so there will actually be 4 different, is that what we're?
That's my understanding. That is subject to change because Lake County, and in this case, FDOT,
Right.
control the roads.
Right.
If they believe that it's better to have fewer access points, that's what we do actually end up with. Right. If the FDOT and Lake County don't have a problem, then that's what we'll end up with the 4.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dan.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Rankin?
Thanks, Dan. Good evening, Mayor, members of the Commission, staff, audience. For the record, Michael Rankin, Managing Member and owner of Land Planning Group, here on behalf of the applicant, Paul Stefan, who is in the room. I think I've got 7 or 8 folks with me if we need to bring them up, but I will try to be brief and not repetitive of some of the things that Dan has talked about. I do want to hit right away to let you know that Village Palms agrees and supports staff recommendation as to the land use, residential development standards, the commercial development standards, parking or car park, open space, landscape and buffer requirements, site access, signage, transportation improvements, utilities, storm drain management, wetlands, flood zone, wildlife, irrigation, water use, recreational requirements, maintenance, development, phasing, and implementation, miscellaneous conditions, and the level of service. As mentioned, this is 316 acres. Of that, there'll be 562 detached single-family homes that will not exceed that. There are 258 townhomes units. I met with the staff last week, and we've got a couple of items that we'd like to tweak between first and second read, of which we would decrease this to 264, but we would increase the multifamily, so it would be a balance between the two, basically. 134 duplex units. There's 130,000 square foot of commercial, 42,000 square foot combination of medical, professional, office, and educational use, and 120 unit hotel. The permitted uses, as Dan mentioned, we wholeheartedly agree with that. But more importantly, I wanted to go to the prohibited use to make sure the city clearly knows of what we do not intend to bring to this development. And as Dan mentioned, industrial recycling, junk and scrap collection, recycling facility, auto sales, dealership, tattoo parlors, check cashing stores, adult use, internet cafe use, secondhand thrift consignment, pawn, smoke shops, and all others not specifically permitted within the conditions of the permitted use. As I mentioned, we had a couple of items that we would request between first and second read. Multifamily would change from 300 to 306. The townhomes would go down from 264 to 258, so there's that balance of the two. We are looking and seeking a school or an educational use. We're asking flex space limited to 50% of the proposed retail space. One minor issue with the 60s, we'd like to go from 7.5 down to 5 on side setbacks. Just side setbacks for townhome lots to 10 foot from corner and end lots, corner and end lots only. Townhomes required to have a one-car garage and one on-site parking space, so on-site. A maximum of 10% of 50 and or 60 lots may be interchanged, providing the minimum and maximum requirements that are met within the PUD. That's just to cover the market rate that we assume we will be building this project for. And as I mentioned, these are market rate. These are not subsidized. These are full tax-paying folks that are going to live here. And I'm sure there's going to be several folks that are going to express some concerns for traffic, and we do have those reports here if you need them tonight. But more importantly, we are as concerned about the traffic. Can you pull up the development map? We are as concerned of the traffic patterns in the area. And we feel strongly that the one opportunity for Pembroke to have signalization would be the development of something such as ours that would cause that to occur. And as Mayor Burry knows, we would be working with MPO and FDOT as that's a task for them. But any time of the day, we'll sit down with anybody from Pembroke, the state, and involve the city as well as we navigate through what will probably be a signalized intersection. You know, and the one thing we want to do is we want to build a development that people want to live at, not have to live at. And I think we all know there's a difference there. This is heavily amenity driven. It's a massive piece of property, 316 acres. If you look at the raw numbers, you think, my God, look at all these units he's thrown at me, but this is 316 acres. The open space is 123 acres of that, which is 39.2%, and the minimum by the city requirement is 35%, so we exceed that. And the total parking, car park in the area would be 4,018. So we've spent a year on this project knowing the challenge that you have bringing development to any community, not just the city of Leesburg. And the one thing that we wanted to keep in mind was the quality of life and the safety of not only our future residents, but the people that live nearby. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have and comment on any questions from the audience. Thank you, Mayor.
Any questions for Mr. Rankin, the commission? Nothing? Okay. Thank you, Mike. That's good.
I just have a question.
No, we're going to allow for public comment. Yes, ma'am.
I didn't mean to make
No questions for you, so we're going to allow for. So we'll have public comment at this point. We ask again that you limit your comment to 3 minutes, that you give us your name and your address when you come to the microphone. And if the comments are the same as the previous comments, please limit it to, you know, we just don't want to hear the same thing over and over. Thank you.
Elizabeth Crouch Payne, 308 Westwood Drive, Leesburg. I live in Pembroke. I'm a little bit different than most of the people in this room. I was born on Main Street in Leesburg, so I have seen all of the development. And I want to just make a couple of statements. I'm not against progress. I was a mailman for 30 years. I delivered mail almost the entire city of Leesburg that was rural. Okay. This development is big money for the seller. It's big money for the developers. It's big money for the city through taxes, which is good. As you consider the developments, I look back at what the gentleman before me said. They have considered the safety. I live in Pembroke. My grandson has to make a U-turn every day to go to work at Publix south of Leesburg. I pray every day that he doesn't get T-boned coming out of Pembroke or making that U-turn, because even though the speed limit is 55 out there, I've clocked people doing 70, and that was me doing 70 trying to stay up with them. The city has a lot of responsibilities. You have to consider the people that live here already and the people that are coming. Development's going to happen. I don't have any problem with development. My concern is the safety of the people who already live here. So I thank you for letting me make my comments.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm short. I'm Julia Fromk, and I also live in Pembroke, and we are very concerned about the traffic out there. If there's any influence that you folks can put to get a traffic light would be really appreciated. But another big concern is fire and ambulance service. We use a lot of ambulance service, and we have our own little station on the corner there, but I'm sure that you'll be making a lot of calls across the street there, because even though that's county, they do cooperate. So whoever gets the call first goes, and if you're going to take our ambulance away from us a lot, it might be a problem. So please consider that. We are very definitely concerned about that. So a traffic light and ambulance would and fire protection would be excellent. So thank you.
My name is Mike Tyson. I'm at 406 Grand Vista Trail on Leesburg, which is the Pembroke complex. I just have a real quick couple questions. Because we're all from Pembroke, we're worried about safety. Okay. Sure. From what I'm understanding, there's a good possibility that there'll be a light right on the main entrance coming out of Pembroke in that area. I mean, is that what it sort of seems like? But nothing's in stone, correct? Okay. And there's two other exits coming out of the development from where, let's say, the entrance of Pembroke is going to Whitney Road. Is that correct? Because you're going, it's like basically from where we are going to Whitney Road. Sure. Okay. So when they come out of that, your new complex, anybody that wants to go towards Wildwood, they'll have to make a right turn if they don't go where the light is, and then jog around about make another U-turn, correct?
We're getting way ahead.
Okay.
No offense. I understand the question. In the plan, there are 3 places to come out. We're anticipating, we're hoping, we're going to push for a light to be there, because without a development of this nature, there's not going to be a light. There's nothing going to happen there, and they're going to continue. It's going to be continued danger for the residents of Pembroke.
Correct.
Straight up. So we will work with FDOT, Lake County. We don't have the authority to make them do the light, but we will put on the pressure, and I know that you're on the MPO and everything else, so we will do that. We don't know yet, but it's most likely that there will be a light, and then the others will be right in, right out. That's almost always the case. You have a 55 or 50 mile an hour highway, 55, I forget the exact speed limit in there, and the lady was right, the lady that, yes ma'am, they fly down there. Yeah. We see it when we're trying to post the signs. So these folks have a good reason to be here, and the city staff does definitely support the light.
Okay. The other quick comment in regards to the safety of that. Okay, we're talking about Pembroke and LA, but down the road, from what I understand, you go past Whitney Road, there's going to be a sports complex or something going up. I mean, maybe not right away, but within the next year or so. It's going to be like 3 or 4 phases. There's going to be a bowling alley and all that sort of stuff eventually, right?
Potentially.
Okay. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that's going to be a lot more traffic, by Whitney Road. So you can understand where our concern is with stoplights and all that sort of stuff. All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Dottie Moore, Pembroke. I hear that you guys can't do anything about the traffic, but yet you keep approving more and more and more developments, but it becomes the county or the state's problem. 44 is a nightmare. There's accidents on there every single day. There's one traffic light at 468 and not another one until you get to Morris Boulevard. And people are flying through there. My other concern with this development is the impact on the schools. Our schools and our police, are you focusing on all of this, the impact it's going to have on everything? 44 is going to be bumper-to-bumper cars from now until who knows when, with the explosion in the villages, and then I keep seeing every day annexing by Leesburg, annexing by the city of Leesburg. When does it ever stop? When you have no more land, I guess, to annex. Thank you.
Please excuse my voice. I do have a voice problem, but my concern about, first of all, my name's Bev Messenger, and I live at Old Park Drive. But my concern is traffic too, but mainly the developers didn't mention what commercial stores or whatever you are putting in. You didn't mention it, but I do hope, rather than all these little malls with little tiny stores nobody goes to, that, and I can give you one example, the Apple store. We need an Apple store in this vicinity. And there's several others I could give you, but I'd like to shop. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
There's an Apple store. I saw that. Any more public comment?
Rosalie Slavin, I'm at 229 Grand Vista Trail. Back again with the traffic. My safety is, Florida is the number 2 in the nation for road rage shootings. And traffic is all related to that. And being an ex-nurse, or not an ex-nurse, I'm just a retired nurse. If you ever worked in an ER and see all the people that come in due to all kinds of, traffic accidents, it's terrible. It really is. And that was my concern. We don't need any road rage shooting out in front of our community, whether it be for the developers or for, Pembroke. And I know, like you said, it's something that the county needs to think about. But we're number 2 in the nation. That's not we don't have a good reputation for our drivers being patient. That was just my comment.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other comments? Any more discussion from the commission? Need to hear anything else? So could we get a motion on 6A2 to approve?
I'll get a motion to approve 6A2. Wait,
we introduced them.
We introduced them. Yeah.
Second. Right. Roll call.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Reisman?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Mayor Burry?
Yes. Get a motion for the approval of 6A3.
Make a motion to approve 6A3.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Reisman?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Mayor Burry?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve 6A4.
Thank you.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Reisman?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Mayor Burry?
Yes. Moving on to item.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. Thank you.
We'll move on now to first reading of ordinances. That would be item 6B. Will someone please introduce 6B1?
I'll introduce 6B1 to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg rescinding the development order approved by Resolution 8758 on December 14, 2009 for development of regional impact DRI on property known as Secret Promise and providing an effective date.
It's a first reading, so we won't be. But Dan, would you please just get up and give a brief, this is just kind of a flip-flop of what.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the request for a rescission of the development of regional impact, the development order for the DRI for Secret Promise. As pretty much everyone is aware, the Villages Land Company, LLC, is in partnership and has purchased the Secret Promise property, consisting of somewhere around 4,000 acres. On December 9, 2009, the City Commission approved development order under Resolution 8578 for this property. And that would have allowed them, whenever they were ready, to go ahead and bring in plans and build out Secret Promise. Unfortunately, all the things happened, and that never did occur. So Chapter 3.8, the villages then purchased the land, and in partnership with Benderson, I believe it is. And so Chapter 380.11.115, Paragraph 2, Florida statutes allows for a developer to request that a development order be rescinded if certain conditions are met. Since nothing ever happened on the property in all those 20-plus years, this development order, there's no problem with rescinding it. In addition, keeping the Secret Promise development order open would not be consistent with the Villages of Westlake plans and the work that they've already done in the city. So basically, it's just getting rid of that old order, and then following this case, you will have an annexation, large-scale comp plan, and a rezoning by the villages on this same property to move forward on that. All of these cases are going to be forwarded to the Florida Department of Commerce. The old DCA, FDEO changes names every time there's a new governor, I think. But so all these cases, well, I should say the large-scale comp plan, and this will be forwarded as a part of the requirements of Chapter 163 to Department of Commerce. This is a first reading, and Mr. Marty Zero and Mr. Darren Taylor and some others are here from the villages if you have any other questions.
Thank you, Dan. Any questions for Dan, guys? Any questions for the developer regarding this? Good. We're good. Okay. Roll call.
First reading.
First reading.
Oh, it's a first reading. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's. When will second reading be? Do we know? Do it, Dan?
May 13th.
What do you got? 8/13? May 13th. All right, so they'll have the second reading on this item on May the 13th. Someone please introduce 6B2.
I'll introduce 6B2 to be read by title only.
Actually, let's do 6B2 and 3.
I'll introduce 6B2, 3, and 4.
There you go.
Okay. 6B2. An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, annexing certain real property consisting of approximately 79.2 plus minus acres, being generally located west of the Florida Turnpike and south of County Road 470, lying in Section 18, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, providing that said property so annexed shall be liable for its proportionate share of the existing and future indebtedness of said city, provided that such annexed property shall be subject to all laws and ordinances of said city, as if all such territory had been a part of the city of Leesburg at the time of passage and approval of said laws and ordinances, providing that such annexed territory shall be placed in City Commission District 3, and providing an effective date. 6B3. An ordinance amending the future land use map of the comprehensive plan of the city of Leesburg, changing the future land use map designation of certain property containing 4,192.5 plus minus acres of property from Leesburg Conservation SP Mixed Use Institutional Industry and Technology Commerce Park and Lake County Regional Office to age restricted development for property generally located east and west of the Florida Turnpike and north of County Road 48, lying in sections 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, 28, 29, 30, 31, and 32, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and delete the secret promise DRI policies found in future land use element objective 1.14.1 and policies 1.14.1.1 through 1.14.1.6, and to amend future land use policy 1.1.6 to address wetland and habitat protection, land use planning, and other issues, and to amend future land use policy 1.1.1 to add commercial centers to the list of non-residential centers permitted, a 3.0 FAR, and providing an effective date. 6B4. An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the zoning on approximately 4,192.5 plus minus acres from City C3 Highway Commercial, M1 Industrial, R1A Single Family Residential, PUD Planned Unit Development, and Lake County HM Highway Industrial to City ARD Age Restricted Development for property generally located east and west of the Florida Turnpike and north of County Road 48, lying in sections 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, 28, 29, 30, 31, and 32, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to thank Mr. Darren Taylor for reminding me. Mr. Taylor is the planner hired by the villages out of Tallahassee, and he's also a former DCA employee, so he knows what he's talking about. He reminded me that we need to ask for public comment because these have to be transmitted. The large-scale comp plan has to be transmitted over to DCA, so we have to vote on that. To transmit it, even though it's a first reading. And I failed to do that earlier, so thank you, Mr. Taylor. Okay. These three, as you've seen, the villages has successfully begun development in the city of Leesburg. They did, I want to say, forget the exact number, something like 2,497 houses in Leesburg in the last year and a half, and done a great job out there on the property north of 470. In order to develop the secret promise property, once the rescission goes through, then they need to annex 80 acres, which is that very top left parcel with the stripes on it, and then rezone and put a new future land use. The current future land use is mixed in there, a number of different land uses, and I didn't write those down, but there's several different land uses in there and several different zonings in there, including PUD. And under the agreement with the villages, the city adopted the villages codes into our future land use. You did that a few years ago. So what it allows is consistent development throughout the villages product, whether it's in Leesburg or Lake County or wherever. So the first of these three cases that are coming up is the annexation of the 80 acres. The next case is the future land use, and the case following that is the zoning. And those cases encompass somewhere around 4,000 acres, and those cases also encompass the 80 acres. So don't let the differences in the acres fool you. We have it figured out. And
just one question real
yes,
quick.
Sir.
The 80 acres we're talking about is the rectangle at the top left up there? Yes, sir. What about the two pieces beside it? Is that already in the
I
the
believe
city?
I believe those are already in Leesburg.
That's already in Leesburg, okay.
It's just
You know,
that
because
one.
one of the maps just had one.
That was for the annexation.
Right,
Yes,
for
sir.
the annexation of that piece, and I didn't see any, whether that was ours or not, I wanted to.
Yes, sir. If it just had that one piece, that was in the annexation case, and that showed just the part that's being annexed.
Okay.
This map shows the entirety. So we just want to move ahead with these items with the knowledge that we want to, on the comp plan, we want to vote to transmit that. Do we need to vote to transmit the rescission, Darren? I think that's okay. Okay, so we just needed to vote on the comp plan so that we could transmit that, covering our legal basis. Again, this is property, as you can see, there's the turnpike running at an angle here. You've got County Road 48 on the south side and Sumter County on the west. So, and that's it, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Any questions for Dan? Okay, so we would need
I'd make a motion to transmit 6B3 to the state.
That's correct.
May need comment, may need public comment, Mr. Mayor, before
You
we.
want public comment
Yes, sir.
before we do it, correct? Yeah. So is there any public comment on this item? Yes, sir.
Okay, with Secret Promise, you're talking about 4,000 acres, probably 10,000 new homes, 20,000 new cars. So you need to put in place a project to improve Route 48. Right now, it's number 13 on the list. If you went to the meeting last Wednesday, you'd know this. It's 13 on the list for priority projects because it's going to bisect this whole area. And only the first 10 projects get funded, so it's not even going to get funded. Route 48 and 470 are inadequate for the traffic right now. If you can get something in place before these homes are built, even before the rest of the villages of Westlake is built, that would be great. And 48, there's a section of 48, you didn't start the timer, by the way. There's a section of 48 south of Sumter County line, which is number 3 on the list. And I asked the MPO, I says, why is that number 3 on the list when it's not nearly as bad as what's in Leesburg between 27 and 33? He said that's because Sumter County asked for it.
Sir, I really don't know what to say to you. Leesburg has asked for things that also from the MPO that we are not getting. I'm not here to argue with you, but you're acting like we're not paying attention to our roads, and that is just not factual.
Well, but we see what's happening in South Lake County, right? Mineola and Claremont are getting all kinds of new roads and increased capacity. We have 80,000 potentially, a population of Leesburg going to 80,000 with all of these homes being built, and there's no projects on the books for increasing capacity of the roads. So how can that be?
It's a good question for the MPO, and I have been asking that question, sir.
Then maybe more people from this committee or commission need to attend the MPO meetings and
Or
assert
citizens
themselves.
can go do that also.
I've been attending for the last 5 years. So
I just don't recognize you. I'm sorry.
well, I listen. Ever since COVID, I go in virtually on.
Okay.
But I attended 3 years ago in person. So, all of you can attend if you want to try to make a point.
We understand that, sir.
But it's critical. I mean,
But it does help when the citizens attend also.
I'd like to talk to you afterwards because I've been making videos for them. If you're on their distribution list, you got my emails about how bad that section of road is between 27 and 33. It's an accident waiting to happen. It's probably the worst section of road in the city of Leesburg. Thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion. All right. Any more public comment before we, just make sure we get it all out there. Okay. We've got a motion. We've got a second. Roll call.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Eastman?
Yes.
Mayor Burry?
Yes. Okay.
Introduce 6B5 to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, establishing the Dewey Robbins Community Development District pursuant to Chapter 190 Florida statutes, providing for authority and power of the district, establishing the district, providing for the Board of Supervisors of the district, providing for the district budget, providing for functions of the district, providing for miscellaneous provisions, and providing an effective date.
Dan, you want to give us a...
This is a request for an ordinance establishing a community development district for the Dewey Robbins Community Development District. It'll serve the Hodges Reserve and subdivisions down in that area around Dewey Robbins Road, generally east of US 27. Just as a reminder, community development districts are allowed under Chapter 190 Florida statutes, and they allow for services that include but are not limited to construction, operation of water, wastewater, roads, bridges, environmental conservation areas, parks, schools, all kinds of things, with security and infrastructure services as well. They are limited to a specific geographic area. So the ones that you have been approving in the past, such as County Road 33 and the ones at Terra Oaks, they're limited to those areas. And we have several in the city. Arlington Ridge, Villages of Westlake has a number of them, Terra Oaks. And they cannot encumber debt to local government. They have no zoning and police powers. They're limited to those specific areas. And Ms. Michelle Rigoni is here tonight from the law firm of Cutak Rock of Tallahassee if you have any other questions. Thank you, sir.
Any questions for Dan regarding that? Now, this will be our fourth? How many community development districts?
We probably have seven. I have a list at the office.
Yeah. So this is quite a common thing, and this is
not including the villages.
Yeah. So this is two Hodges developments, and then one LLC Dewey or whatever.
It's called the Dewey CDD, but it's going to serve two developments down there, I believe.
Okay. Gotcha. It's just Hodges, right? Okay.
Lakewood Reserve is the other one. They changed the name.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So do you have any questions regarding the development district?
Dan, I assume it pretty much mirrors the other CDDs we
Yes,
have?
sir. It's pretty standard language.
That's what I thought.
Seen
Okay.
so far.
Okay, thank you.
They can vary a little bit in terms of what they cover, but in general, it's standard language.
Okay, thank you.
And there's some variation in the statutes. There's a sort of a general power section and a special power section. Most of them ask for the same special powers, the parks and the security services. That was consistent in this application as well.
Okay. Thank you both.
Any questions? Any other questions from the committee? Okay. So this will lay over, you got a date for me, Dan?
I believe it's the next 2 weeks. I believe it's the next, wait, Michelle, that's 30. March 11th.
March
Thank
11th.
you.
Okay. So we'll lay over till
I'm the
3/11.
one that told her that.
Okay, would someone please introduce?
I'll introduce 6B6 to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, adding a PDO, Planned Development Overlay, with the waiver from Section 25-282, parentheses A, parentheses 1, PDO 5-acre minimum, to the existing PSC Pine Street commercial zoning on approximately 0.16 plus minus acres, to allow for an office use for a property generally located north of Pine Street and east of Child Street, lying in Section 25, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Andy? All right. You want to talk about that?
Mr. Mayor, I wanted to note that I laid some new revised maps on everyone's. I picked up the wrong maps in the software, so apologize for that. This is a plan development overlay. You're starting to see in more and more of these. They leave the underlying zoning there. This will allow for an office use in the R3 zoning district, and it'll give us a waiver from the 5-acre requirement minimum, which we would like to change in the future when we update the land development code. The building was constructed in 1971 as a hotel. It's generally located north side of Pine Street, east of Childs. It's a very small property, just under 0.2 of an acre. Property is owned by the Community Development Corporation, and the city's land development codes are the reason we require the plan development overlay in this R3 district. Staff believes that this proposal will allow for appropriate uses in the area, as it will support the efforts of the commission that this commission has made in the Pine Street area, and perhaps it'll create a few jobs. But it is a good adaptive reuse of the old structure. Thank you, sir. And Pastor John
and that structure
is representing some. I hope someone's here from CDC. But it's Pastor Christian. Okay, thank you, sir.
The structure itself, Dan, is actually it's Mike and Pine, right? Right, the corner lot.
That is correct.
Right next to the barbecue.
Yes, sir.
Pretty much. Right. Okay. Any questions for Dan on this?
I've already asked them. I'm good.
You're all good? Okay. This will lay over until? Next meeting. So
February 25th.
2/26, right?
25.
Is my math. Today's what, 12th?
Today's the 12th.
14, that makes it 6.
Okay, I got it wrong.
26, okay. It'll lay over until the 26th. All right, so now would someone please introduce 6C1?
6C1 to be read by title only.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, establishing the special events venue area for the annual Leesburg Bike Fest event taking place April 26th through the 28th, 2024, and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion. Al, you want to make it quick?
I will make it super quick. Typically, we put this item on consent agenda. I pulled it off just to give Commission a little bit of a heads up and repeat some issues. Obviously, this year is the first year the city is doing Bike Fest, so a little bit different considerations. In the past, when we've hosted Bike Fest instead of produced it, we've done 2 ordinances. The first one is an ordinance that recognizes that it's a major event above 30,000 people, and the Commission has to wave your wand to approve it, and we section out an area where the event will be held. That's this ordinance. The second ordinance we've typically done is we've created an agreement between the city and the partnership, whereby if businesses who sell alcohol sell out of their premises, so businesses that are bars or restaurants that typically sell alcohol in that zone that we're approving tonight, if they sell it in their facility, just like they normally do, that's not a problem. But what we see at Bike Fest sometimes is those businesses will sell outside their establishment, like on the sidewalk, on an empty lot they may own, or in a little bit area that's bigger. We then have created a charge for that. The premise was to ensure that we capsulate alcohol sale revenues so that that would go to the event. And so we had an existing charge that was established by the city, but then whatever was collected, that was paid to the partnership. This year, we are not doing that ordinance. Just from my read of the commission and the comments that you've made, the concept here is to host the event and to help local businesses profit from Bike Fest. So therefore, I don't think that you wanted a need for that resolution. So that one's not on the agenda. So by code, the one that you have to do is the major event one. That's what you're approving. The secondary agreement is no longer required. That topic of alcohol sales and in the zone, out of the zone, in the business, out of the business was a touchy one. And I think as we discussed this issue, that issue was part of the concept of kind of the success of Bike Fest was the decline of revenue for the partnership, and that's why this event is now in our lap. So if you don't enforce that if you don't make that rule, which you can't collect the money. We're suggesting this year that you don't do that, and we'll review it based on our success. So just opportunity to say, Minner, if you want to do something different, then we have time to add that, but our recommendation is do the event and not to do the outside sales agreement.
So in essence, we would not be charging our downtown businesses if they want to get outside the box a little bit. And
And and this is the box is their business.
Their business.
If they set up their beer booth or wine booth or whatever in front of their business on the sidewalk, typically, nope, you can't do that.
Right.
This ordinance allows them to do that. Your next ordinance would say, since you're not operating in your business, you're taking up 100 square feet of the sidewalk, we're going to charge you $250 a square that you have to pay for the city for the right to operate outside your business. We used to do that, and sometimes we did or sometimes we didn't collect. Our history of collecting that was very limited. For obvious reasons. So I'm saying this year, we don't need to do that at all, unless you want to. If you know there's going to be a handful of businesses that are going to set up their beer cart in front of their business, and so now would be the time to say, yeah, we want to do that, so then I'll just bring that reso to the next meeting. But based on your comments, based on the feedback, the only thing we need to do for us to produce Bike Fest pursuant to our code is to approve this resolution, which establishes the zone where zoning restrictions are going to be lifted for that event only.
Yeah, and the zoning itself, for those, I hope everyone out there watching can see, but we're talking about 9th Street down to the Magnolia Trail, and then it kind of wiggle wags up towards basically where Romac and Cutrale, that corner, and then follows the basic old railroad track back up to Canal. So it's not as big. You know, it used to encompass go all the way down sometimes to Perkins or so it's kind of shortened up that distance, which will make the traffic flow for local people a lot easier, with that footprint. Questions?
Just curious, would it be beneficial for the local restaurants to communicate with our staff of where they plan to put those bars so they don't impede anything that we might be putting in that general area or anything like
We'll
that?
have that contact.
Okay.
It's pretty SOP,
Yeah.
but we'll have that contact, and Travis and Maggie are on it.
May I ask one thing that's not in reference to this vote, but can a business set up shop selling other things other than alcohol outside the box?
They have to be a business that normally sells that
It
stuff.
has to be an item that they sell
Right.
within.
So
every
if
day.
you're the funeral home,
okay,
you shouldn't be selling beer. But
Not
if you're,
alcohol, I'm just
if you're a
saying,
restaurant, you typically do. If you're a shop, and you typically, so it like business, but now we're letting that business sell their product in public right of way.
I don't want to put words in her mouth, but I think she's referring to like a clothing
A
retailer.
doggy bone,
We're
doggy
going to have every retailer in town blocking our sidewalks, which is detrimental to them, so I don't think they'll do that. Detrimental to the event.
I hate speaking definitively, as you all know, but I'm not concerned about that issue. It's typically the restaurants that have sold beer from the sidewalk.
Okay.
We haven't had issue in the past with retailers selling their goods and blocking the sidewalks. Typically, our problems with sidewalks
One or two will put up a water stand,
Okay.
a little cooler or something.
Well, if they communicate with staff, our staff can go, hey, that's a safety issue.
Yeah,
we can't go there, things like that.
We've done it. We've typically done a pretty, and we've worked in hand with the partnership in the past. So it's not an unusual issue. I wanted to bring this issue up because the second resolution that we're doing, that's a money resolution, and we're not saying we're going to collect that.
Right. Everybody good with it? No other questions? All right. Roll call.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Reisman?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Mayor Burry?
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to informational reports. We have none. City attorney items.
Don't have any reports this evening. Thank you all.
Mayor, did we have C2?
We pulled that.
Okay.
He was waiting. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. It got pulled from the. I announced it right at the beginning of the meeting that it got pulled. Something wasn't quite ironed out. That's right. That we need to. Okay, so let's move on. City manager items.
I had a few items, and one of those was C2. I know some of the commission does so in short, here's what happened to that. At the 11th hour, Commissioner Reisman contacted me about this. Bottom line, I erred. The proposal for the 400 West project, West Main Street project, was not in compliance with the grant requirements. The grant requirements are multi-use, multi-story, but multi-use is further defined in the program. So there has to be a residential component. So we had defined this project as multi-use because it had variations of commercial. So that's what we were calling multi-use. But on second thought here at the 11th hour, we had a situation where the residential component wasn't there. So it didn't meet the litmus test of multi-use, multi-story. I will go back and speak with the petitioner, who's Dr. Khan, speak with him about that, see if he has some ability to change concepts in his plan. If he doesn't, this may be an item where you may want to consider changing the program. I know 400 West Main is a building we all want to see redeveloped, so more on this to follow. I'll follow up with Dr. Khan on that tomorrow. Thank you. Next item, about a month ago or so, I sent out on the city manager evaluation, I sent out some concepts as we discussed, I think back in November, or I can't remember when we did the evaluation. October-ish, sometime last fall, to come up with a new program. So I sent out some forms and some suggestions on that, asked for your feedback. I wanted to collect all your feedback. When I get your individual feedback, I will disseminate it back to you, because the next step in that is for the commission to collectively agree how you want to do the evaluation process. We received whether myself or HR received feedback from Tuya, so if the rest of you can get feedback in on that email. If you want me to send the email out, I can. Just let me know. And then as soon as I get everybody's feedback, we'll collect it, we'll disseminate it to you. And then the body needs to discuss and formalize how you want to do that. So try to hopefully get that wrapped up this February in next meeting, or if it flows into March. That way, if the process is changed or modified, we've got time to work all that up, and then the final evaluation in August. Last issue is just an events update. Travis has been a busy person here, so he wanted me to remind everybody this Thursday, spring game starts. Encourage everybody to go out to Sleepy Hollow to watch the girls' NCAA softball play. Those girls can ball. They're awesome, and they're fun to watch. So it's the first day. It starts Thursday. Division I teams that are going to be there: University of Kansas, University of California, Riverside, Coastal Carolina, Ohio State, Penn State, Iowa, Illinois, Liberty, and plus a few others. So those are some powerhouses there. So hopefully everybody gets out to Sleepy Hollow. And I got a shout out to Cliff's crew. They just do an awesome job of getting the fields all ready. We get the ryegrass growing in. The fields look awesome. So very, very proud that they get everything ship-shape out there. And then also the Blues and Barbecue is coming up on Town Square. Trevor, what was the date on that?
This Saturday.
It's this Saturday, 12 to 4. So come on out and have some fun. Mayor, that's it.
Excellent.
I want to ask Al a question or follow up on the first item, Al, the grant. The grant. I've met with Dr. Khan in my day job as a commercial realtor and had discussions with him, and he made the comment to me that he couldn't economically develop the top floor in a residential due to different building code requirements. I'm not an expert in that area. I did present this property to a couple potential buyers because he expressed an interest that he would sell it at the right price. And I heard the same concerns from them. So I know this grant was for residential. I fully supported it. This building is a signature building downtown. I would support amending the grant program for this building. You can say it's unfair to other people, but this is a unique building. If you go upstairs, they're bigger rooms. They would make spacious offices, but I don't know how you could take that floor plan and make it residential. So, I mean, I would support a motion or to amend the grant for this building. This is an important building to get renovated. For those who don't know it, this is the old, I call it the old First Federal building, but it's a very stately former bank building right in the heart of downtown.
Duly noted. Let me talk with Dr. Khan. I'll get that call made tomorrow.
I would love to see it go residential, but I'd rather see it go office and just sit
My
empty.
guess is that you're correct in that analysis, and that's why he didn't go there to begin with. And if he does go that route, then I'll be back with some type of proposal to
Yeah, I don't know if
modify.
Commissioner Cannell can help me on building code. I don't get bogged down here, but between office versus residential. But people complained to me that there was a big difference taking it to residential.
Roll call.
Commissioner Peterson?
Nothing tonight.
Commissioner Berry?
Nothing tonight.
Commissioner Connell?
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Reisman? Mayor Burry?
Nothing from me either.
Make a motion to adjourn.
No,
Oh,
You got to suspend the regular meeting.
Suspend it.
So
Can we take a break?
Then we went a few minutes first.
Can we take a few minutes
let's
break?
give it 5 minutes and
Be back at
be back
7:15.
at 7:15, guys.
Okay.
It is cold in May.
Here we go. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're back on. Here we go. You want to sit down first? Can we get a motion to
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We're done. Thank you.
And another thing about this annexation.
Yeah.
I'm all for development, but.